We have really come a long way in this course. Till now, the commands that we have worked upon, most of them were concepts of Linux that helped us to get a particular output. From this lecture onwards, we will be working on certain commands that will be creating certain files or directories, and we will be also using most of the time these commands while working on our systems. So let's move ahead and start working with files and directories. You have already seen the touch command multiple times in this course till now. Let me reiterate it for you again. The touch command is used to create files and not directories. Okay. The most simple application of touch command is just by writing that command touch and then followed by a file name. Let me give the file name as book. When I press enter, you can notice that since I'm working in the desktop directory, so all the files which will be created will be right in front of you on the desktop. So most of the time you will see the files getting created in the right bottom of the screen. Let me keep it here. So we have the book file over here. Again, let me create one more file, touch mydata.txt. Just notice that in the first command, I did not mention any extension. However, now I am giving an extension that I specifically want a txt format document. Okay. So when I press enter, my another file with the extension .txt got created. When I do file and I run this wildcard, what I get to see is both the files are created empty. So we understand that by using just the touch command, we create a file of the desired name, but it remains an empty file. Now we have two options. Now we are left with two options. Either we manually open the file and then we manually write the data what we want in it. Hello user. Suppose I just give this data and I save it. And now I'm closing this file. Let me use the cat command to read the data of my data.txt file. So you can see hello user is here. Or the other way, I hope you are already aware of that. We have multiple times used this command echo, and I will write this is my additional data, and then I will use redirection and redirect the data to my data.txt. Now when I run the cat command, you see that both our data are intact in my data.txt file. So this was one way of creating a file using the touch command. However, touch command is not restricted only up to this. We can use the touch command to create a file in any of the directory of our file system just by giving the path. You see, here I did not mention the path, so the file got created in the directory in which I am working right now, that was desktop. Let me create a file in the documents folder. For that, I'll be using the home directory symbol, which is tilde. Okay. And then I'll give documents. I'm giving this path followed by a file name. So what should be my file name here? I'll just write mydoc1.txt. I hope it got created. Let me create one more file, but this time I'm going to create PDF. Right? You see that I'm still in the desktop directory. I'm creating files in the documents directory. So how to read that? I will just use the ls command. I've given the path over here, and instead of mentioning the file name, I'll use a wildcard. Since we have covered this wildcard chapter in the previous section, I'm really sure that you don't find it as a surprise. Now when I press enter, you notice that there are two documents which are created. One is mydoc1.txt, which was from command 1, and the other is this one. We can also see this by changing our working directory to documents, and if I do ls, you notice that my doc1.txt and my doc2.pdf, both files are present over here, but these are empty files. Again, last but not the least, let me cover a few more concepts. Let me cover a few more usability of the touch command. I can create multiple files using the touch command, like file1, file2.txt, file3.pdf, okay, and so on. I can keep giving. First, let me just show you this. I press enter, and when I do ls, there are multiple files created. Just notice that I'm using just one command, but files with multiple file types are getting created. Like this file1 is a different file type. I have not mentioned any extension for this. However, for file2 I mentioned that it should be a txt format and file3 should be a pdf format, and I get the output as the input was given. So that is all about the touch command. I've kept it intentionally very basic so that you understand it very well. We will now meet in the next lecture where I will show you how to use certain commands to create multiple directories in multiple ways in your Linux file system.